The church fell silent as 7-year-old Lily's innocent prayer echoed through the empty pews. "God, I just want a dad for mommy. She cries when she thinks I'm sleeping." What Lily didn't know was that in the shadows of the last row, self-made millionaire James Wilson sat frozen, the child's words piercing through the armor he'd built around his heart after his own family tragedy. He never imagined that overhearing a little girl's prayer would change everything, or that within 3 months, he would be fighting for his life, with Lily and her mother Sarah by his bedside. Sarah Matthews struggled to keep the lights on in their small apartment. At 32, she juggled 2 jobs while raising Lily alone after her husband abandoned them 4 years ago. The weight of responsibility bent her shoulders, but never her spirit. Every Sunday, without fail, she took Lily to church, clinging to faith when everything else seemed uncertain. That particular Sunday, Sarah had stayed behind to speak with Pastor Mike about the church's food assistance program, unaware that her daughter had wandered back into the sanctuary to have a private conversation with God. James hadn't stepped foot in a church since his wife and daughter died in a car accident 5 years earlier. Bitterness had replaced faith, and success had become his only purpose. The real estate empire he built meant nothing when he returned each night to an empty penthouse overlooking the city. He'd only entered the church that day to discuss a potential property development. The church needed funds, and the location was prime for his next project. But hearing Lily's prayer stopped him cold. "She works so hard, God. Sometimes she forgets to eat so I can have enough. Please send someone to love us both." When Lily turned and spotted him, James quickly wiped away an unexpected tear. Their eyes met across the empty church, and something inexplicable passed between them, a connection that would soon weave their lives together in ways neither could imagine. But would Sarah accept help from a stranger with his own painful past? And could James open his heart again after losing everything he once loved? As Sarah finished her conversation with Pastor Mike and turned the corner to find her daughter chatting animatedly with a well-dressed stranger, alarm bells rang in her head. Who was this man talking to her child? Little did she know that this chance encounter would lead to a job offer that seemed too good to be true, and perhaps it was. Because James Wilson had secrets of his own, and the closer they became, the more Sarah wondered if she could trust the man who was slowly stealing both their hearts. The first weeks of Sarah's new position as James's executive assistant were a whirlwind. The salary was generous enough that she could quit her second job, and for the first time in years, she could breathe. Lily bloomed under James's kind attention, and Sarah found herself looking forward to their interactions, the coffee he brought each morning, the way he listened when she spoke, how he valued her opinions in business meetings. But when she accidentally discovered a file on his computer with her name on it, containing detailed research about her life dating back years, the foundation of trust began to crumble beneath her feet. "Why do you have this?" Sarah demanded, her voice shaking as she confronted James in his office after hours. "Have you been stalking us? Was meeting Lily at the church planned?" The hurt and betrayal in her eyes cut deeper than any business loss he'd ever suffered. James ran his hands through his hair, knowing the moment of truth had arrived sooner than he'd planned. "Your husband, David, I knew him. He worked for me before he disappeared." The revelation hung in the air between them like a physical thing. "There's more to the story of why he left, Sarah. Much more than you know." Sarah felt the room spin around her. For years of unanswered questions crashed through her mind. "Tell me everything," she whispered, unprepared for how the truth would shatter the narrative she'd built around her abandoned marriage, and how it would bind her to James in ways she never expected. The truth was more complicated than either of them anticipated. David hadn't simply abandoned his family, he'd embezzled from James's company and disappeared when the walls closed in. But James had discovered something in his investigation that changed everything, evidence that David had been coerced by dangerous people, people who might still pose a threat to Sarah and Lily. James hadn't sought out Sarah for revenge, he'd been protecting them from the shadows for years before Lily's prayer brought him into their lives directly. As weeks turned to months, the initial distrust transformed into something deeper. Sarah found herself laughing again, while James rediscovered purpose beyond accumulating wealth. Lily thrived with James's fatherly guidance, her school performance improving and her smile returning. They became a unit, filling the empty spaces in each other's lives. But happiness comes with a price, and theirs would be steeper than most. The first warning came as a brick through Sarah's apartment window. Then threatening notes appeared at her desk. James immediately moved them into his secure building, his protective instincts in overdrive. "I won't let anything happen to either of you," he promised, his voice fierce with determination. But the danger was closing in from all sides, connected to David's past mistakes and the dangerous people he'd entangled himself with. On a rainy Tuesday evening, as they returned from Lily's school play, shots rang out in the parking garage. James shoved Sarah and Lily down behind a car, but not before taking a bullet meant for them. "Sarah, Lily," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "you saved me in ways I never thought possible. Before you, I was just existing, not living." He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it to reveal a diamond ring. "Sarah, will you marry me?" And Lily, he produced a smaller box containing a delicate heart pendant, "Will you officially become my daughter?" The church that had witnessed the beginning of their journey now witnessed their promises to each other. As they walked out into the sunlight, a family forged through pain, faith, and love, Lily looked up at the sky with a knowing smile. "See, Mom? I told you God listens." 1 year later, they returned to that same church for a different ceremony. As James stood at the altar watching Sarah walk toward him in a simple white dress, with Lily proudly preceding her mother as flower girl, he marveled at how a child's prayer had rebuilt 3 broken lives. The journey hadn't been easy. James still had physical therapy for his injuries, Sarah was now his full business partner rather than assistant, and they all attended family counseling to navigate their new dynamics. But the challenges had only strengthened their bonds. In his vows, James spoke directly to both Sarah and Lily. "I came into that church that day a wealthy man by the world's standards, but spiritually bankrupt. You taught me that true wealth isn't in bank accounts or buildings, it's in the love we share and the family we build. I promise to spend every day trying to be worthy of the gift you've given me." Sarah's response moved everyone to tears. "You showed up when we needed you most, not as a savior but as a partner. You helped me find strength I didn't know I had. We're not perfect, but we're perfectly matched. This isn't just a marriage, it's a testimony to second chances and answered prayers." As they celebrated at the reception, James pulled Lily aside for a special moment. "You know, your prayer that day changed everything. You asked for a dad, but you gave me something too, you gave me back my heart." Lily smiled up at him, wisdom beyond her years shining in her eyes. "I knew you were the one God sent as soon as I saw you crying in church. Real dads cry too." Their story spread throughout their community and beyond, a testament to how unexpected connections can heal the deepest wounds. James used his resources to establish a foundation supporting single-parent families, while Sarah managed both the foundation and their growing business empire. Their home became a haven for others facing similar struggles, proof that family isn't always about blood, sometimes it's about who shows up when you need them most. If you've been moved by this story of faith, second chances, and the family we choose, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content that reminds us of the power of prayer and human connection. Sometimes the answers to our deepest prayers come in unexpected packages, and the families we build can be stronger than the ones we're born into. Years later, when asked about the bullet scar he still carried, James would simply say, "Some prices are worth paying for the things that truly matter." And as he watched Sarah and Lily, his family, he knew no truer words had ever been spoken. The millionaire who once had everything and nothing had found wealth beyond measure in the love of a woman who taught him strength and a little girl whose prayer had saved them all.